If your baby is gassy, frustrated at the bottle, or they're refusing the bottle altogether, it might be how you're holding the bottle. As a pediatric nurse practitioner and a lactation counselor, I see parents doing this all the time. And there's a simple fix. It's called paced bottle feeding, and it takes about 30 seconds to learn. Hi, my name is Erin Moore, and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner in IBCLC, and I am here to serve up bite-sized pieces of feeding information so that you can feel good feeding your baby. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of them. What is paced bottle feeding? It is a way of feeding a baby that mimics more closely what is happening at the breast. It comes down to three things: the position of the baby, the position of the bottle, and the flow of the bottle. When a baby is breastfeeding, they have to put in the work. They have to coordinate their suck, their swallow, and their breathe, and there's natural pauses built in. When you give a bottle the traditional way, where baby is reclined and the milk just keeps flowing, it can make it so it's harder to see your baby's fullness cues, and sometimes they chug so fast that they can't even recognize they're full themselves. This can be an issue when your baby's breastfed because it's so easy to get milk from the bottle and then they go to the breast and they have to work a lot harder. This can make babies really prefer the bottle over the breast. Why does it matter? Let me tell you why I recommend paced bottle feeding for almost every single family, whether they're breastfeeding or bottle feeding. Number one, it reduces the risk of bottle preference. When you're making it so easy for the baby to take a bottle and then they have to work at the breast, they might get a bottle preference. And that's literally the last thing any breastfeeding parent wants. They want their baby to go between the breast and the bottle seamlessly. So when we're making it more similar to what's happening at the breast, they'll be more likely to go between the breast and the bottle. Number two, it can reduce overfeeding. So when your baby is continuously drinking at the bottle, they might not even recognize their own fullness cues, and you might not recognize their fullness cues. When they're chugging, they might just continue chugging, and sometimes it can seem like they're still hungry afterward. But really, it's just they're going so fast. Number three, it can help with gas and spit up. When a baby is chugging a bottle or drinking really fast, they often gulp air, which can make gas and fussiness and general discomfort even worse. So if your baby is gulp, 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 or even clicking or pouring milk out of the sides of their mouth, it means they're taking in some air, which likely will result in them feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So here's how you actually do it. I'm going to teach you step by step. What you're going to start with is you're going to start with your baby in a more upright position. So usually babies are reclined, but we're going to make them more active in the feed. So we're going to put them upright. So almost to a 90-degree angle, maybe a little bit further back. Step two, and an important concept, is making sure that your nipple flow is slow enough. So I want it to take somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes per ounce in the bottle, so it's not so fast. If your baby is chugging or slamming a bottle, that is not a good thing. We know that we can't really rely on bottle marketing because sometimes it says it's slow flow, but it's not actually slow flow. So make sure to look at how your baby is drinking, if they're gulping, if they're clicking, if they're pouring milk, and make sure that you have the right flow for your baby. Step three, which is a little bit easier said than done, but just like breastfeeding, you want to tickle their upper lip. And then if you can aim the nipple at the nose, that's great. What you want them to do is to open their mouth a little bit and really go in for the latch too, like they do when they're breastfeeding. So the deeper the latch on the bottle, the more occlusive it is on the bottle nipple, the easier it is going to be for them to feed and them to get the milk. Step four is holding the bottle horizontal. So you want it to align with the floor. I know it sounds weird. You don't want to tip it up. You want it to be horizontal. You want the milk to cover the hole in the nipple. That's one of the most common questions that I'm asked is it okay if there's air in the nipple? Really, we want the milk to cover the hole. So you might have to tilt it up a teeny bit, but really we want it horizontal to go into the mouth. Step five is the most important, and that is pausing when your baby is pausing. So if your baby is breastfeeding, they're often doing little bursts of feeding and then taking a pause. We want to do the same thing with bottle feeding. So if you're seeing a natural pause, or it's been somewhere around 10 to maybe upwards of 20 sucks and swallows, or they seem like they need a little break, they're starting to pour a little milk from the corners of their mouth, we want to give them a natural pause. So you do this by tipping up the bottle, and it's okay if they're getting in a little bit of air. They're not actually swallowing that into their stomach. If your baby is seeming like they need a little bit of a longer pause, you can actually take the bottle out, give them a second to catch up, and then put the bottle back in. Step 6 is following your baby's leads and cues. So if your baby is pulling off the nipple, if they're moving their head back and forth, if they keep trying to push the nipple out of their mouth, even if they haven't finished their bottle yet, as long as they're not just going straight to sleep and they're actually drinking something, it's probably a good indicator that they're actually done with the bottle. So not forcing them to take the bottle just because you feel like they need to eat a certain amount. Now I want to cover a few mistakes that I see commonly happen. The first one is using a flow of nipple that is too fast. So if your baby is chugging a bottle, slamming a bottle, if your baby eats like a pro, those are all things that might not be so positive when it comes to paced bottle feeding and respecting your baby's cues. What I don't want you to do is fall for marketing, advertising. I want it to take between 5 and 10 minutes, and I find really that 5 to 7.5 minutes per ounce in the bottle. It's kind of the sweet spot for younger babies or newborns. So just find the right flow. And oftentimes it's not what comes with the bottle. Mistake number 2 is not pausing when your baby actually does need to pause. Sometimes it's not easy to see them actually pause, but really the pause is the pace of the paced bottle feeding. The third mistake I see a lot is parents thinking that their baby needs to take a certain amount in a bottle. So they keep trying to get them to take the bottle and trying to get them to take the bottle. The really big goal of paced bottle feeding is learning how to feed your baby responsibly. So that is that if your baby sometimes takes down a bottle and eats XYZ amount of ounces, that's great. And if the next feed they decide that they don't want to take that full amount, that's great too. Babies aren't robots. They eat different amounts at different times a day, just like we do. I get asked a lot, do I need to do this every single feed? When they're little babies, when they're newborns, really we want you to, if you can, if it is possible. I know it's really hard, but yes, it will be beneficial, especially if you are breastfeeding and if you have a fussy baby. So yes, try to do it every single feed. Now, as your baby gets older, it's going to be really hard to get them to do the paced bottle feeding because sooner or later they start getting distracted. They start doing like alligator rolls. Sometimes they start holding the bottle on their own, and that is great. But while they're younger, while your breast milk is regulating, while they're more prone to fussiness, gas, discomfort, overfeeding, paced bottle feeding is really important every time. If you like this video and found it helpful, make sure to save it and like it. Come back to it when you need it, when you're in the thick of it. And if you need help feeding your baby, I offer virtual one-on-one consultation so you can finally feel good feeding your baby. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything.